So you've read the first two screens that explain how you need to score and what the guidelines are for doing that. So let's go through a couple of hypotheticals here. Let's say that you're working on a four-person team. Steve, Allison, and Rachel right here are your team members. You're trying to evaluate just who does what. Now remember that there has to be at least a 5-point gap between one person and another. The reason for that is really simple. Nobody in any teamwork ever does an equal amount of work. As a matter of fact, there's always somebody, at least one person, who does the boatload of the work. They organized everything, they brought everything together, they edited the paper, they carried a little more weight than everybody else, and that person deserves a little more consideration. And by setting it at a 5-point gap between at least two people, it means that it's not going to be that big of a deal for anybody to not get all the points. So here's your four-person group, Steve, Allison, and Rachel, and you decide after considering everything carefully that this is how you want to distribute your 100 points, with Steve getting 30, Allison getting 35, and Rachel getting 35. As you can see, there's at least a 5-point gap between one person and the next, and so we're good to go. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that too much. And here could be an alternative scoring. Let's say that in your estimation, Allison and Rachel did the bulk of the work and Steve actually did very little. You had to chase after him the whole time. His work wasn't of good enough quality. And so you decide to evaluate your points or distribute your points this way, with Steve receiving 20 and both Allison and Rachel getting 40. Again, there's at least a 5-point gap between one person and another. As a matter of fact, there's a 20-point gap, which is okay. You can do that. It's no problem. And so in the end, let's say that after all of Steve's scores are totaled up from the other three members of the group, Steve has received a total of 90 points. And that means that Steve receives 90% of the score on the project. The project score, let's say it was 95, and we multiply that by 0.9 or 90%. That means Steve's going to get an 85.5. That's how the peer review works. Let's take a look at another member of the group. Let's take a look at Rachel. Let's say that Rachel received from person 1 40 points, person 2 35, and from person 3 40. They all agree that Rachel did a lot of the work and deserves a whole lot more of the credit. That means that Rachel's total is 115. Okay. And if we do the calculation, Rachel's total was 115. That means that Rachel receives 115% of the score on the project. And the project score was 95. We multiply that by 1.15, or that's 115%. And that means she's going to get 109.25. She can get more than 100. So keep in mind that that's how that works. This video is designed to let you see how the scoring works. Again, carefully consider it. You're distributing 100 points among other people. Okay? You're not determining how much out of 100 each person should get. You are determining and distributing 100 amongst your other team members as you see fit.